Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Alex Feinman, Development Manager with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, also known as DEMPED. Patrick Smith, another DEMPED Development Manager, is here as co-host. I would like to thank Ward 1 Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, ANC 1C Chair Fiona Clem, and the other ANC 1C commissioners for their assistance and continued public input. To all participants, thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be here tonight. On behalf of the Executive Office of the Mayor, we're here to obtain community input on potential public uses of real property to inform the mayor's determination whether the real property located at 1617 U Street Northwest and 1620 V Street Northwest, also designated as lots 0826 and 0827 in square 0175, and for project purposes known as 1617U, exclusive of the existing municipal uses, bless you, is no longer required solely for public purposes. The 1617U project anticipates retaining both the fire station and police station upon redevelopment, and this hearing is for community input on any additional potential public uses. When the district intends to dispose of district-owned property for redevelopment pursuant to DC Official Code 10801, the real property must first be declared surplus by the Council of the District of Columbia. Declaring the property surplus means the property is no longer required solely for public purposes. As part of the process, the mayor's office is required to hold a public surplus hearing in order to obtain community input on potential public uses of the real property prior to submitting the surplus resolution to council. Comments received tonight will be recorded and submitted to council together with the surplus resolution pursuant to DC Official Code 10801. The council will review the surplus resolution and conduct a separate public council hearing before voting to approve or disapprove the surplus designation. Before opening up for public comment, please let me give a brief background on the site itself. The property is located in Ward 1, ANC 1C, Single Member District 8, and is comprised of lots 0826 and 0827 in square 0175. The property is bounded by V Street Northwest to the north, 17th Street Northwest to the west, and U Street Northwest to the south. The property is less than 400 feet north of the 90 and 96 bus stops, less than 500 feet west of the S2 and S9 bus stops, and a half a mile west of the U Street Metro stop. The property is currently improved by the Metropolitan Police Department's 3rd District Headquarters and Fire and EMS's Engine Company 9, both of which are contemplated to remain on site upon redevelopment. Additionally, there is a 2-story parking garage and other ancillary municipal uses on the site. As stated before, tonight's meeting is to obtain community input on potential public uses of the real property to inform the mayor's determination whether the real property is no longer required solely for public purposes. There will continue to be additional opportunities for the community to provide input when the DC Council holds its public hearing regarding the surplus legislation. Next slide, please. We're about to open up the surplus hearing for public comment. There are multiple ways to provide comments regarding potential public uses this evening, and I will elaborate further on each method and leave the instructions on the screen. If you are attending this hearing in person, you may provide verbal comments by lining up over here, and each person will be called in turn order. Additionally, you may provide written comments using the note cards on the table in the back. For those attending this hearing virtually and want to make verbal comments, please use the raise hand function. Look for the buttons at the bottom of the screen. Click on the button that has 3 dots. When the menu comes up, select raise hand and we will call on you. For those on the phone calling in, to raise your hand, please push star, then the number 3. Again, that is star 3 to raise your hand if you're calling in on the phone. And for those wishing to type in their comment, please use the chat function to enter your comment into the chat. To open up this chat function, click on the WebEx screen and buttons will appear at the bottom. Click on the balloon button, which will open the chat box on the right-hand side. Type your comment into the box, which appears at the bottom of the chat. Please note that we will try to read out loud all written comments so everyone can hear them. And for those who'd like to email comments on potential public uses, please email me, Alex Feynman, at alex.feynman@dc.gov, as shown on the screen. We will be accepting written comments until Friday, July 22nd. Each person providing verbal comments will have a total of 3 minutes to deliver their comments. If you go beyond 3 minutes, we will ask that a written version of your comments be submitted to our office so we can fully capture your remarks. Please focus your comments on potential public uses of the real property. When beginning your remarks, please state your name and association. For example, if you're an ANC representative, representative of another community-based organization, or a resident from one of the neighborhoods surrounding the site. Please also note that this meeting is being recorded and transcribed, and all comments will be submitted to council with the surplus legislation. The meeting is now open for public comments. Again, for those wishing to make verbal comments in person, please line up over here. And virtually, please raise your hand so I may call on you and ensure you're unmuted and your comments are recorded. We will also try to read out loud the public comments received on the chat. If you have prepared a written statement, please email it to me as well, and we will incorporate it into the compilation of public comments.
Zachary Adams. I'm a neighbor at 1621 T Street, MD2B08. I think that this would be an excellent site for a public library and a mixed-use development. I would love to welcome more neighbors into this neighborhood. All I have to say, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Hi, my name is Matthew Holden. I'm currently the 2B08 ANC commissioner just south of U Street. I currently live at 1939 17th Street Northwest, which is the corner building, the red brick building directly across the street from the police station and the fire station. At the end of the month, I will be resigning from the ANC because I'm actually in the process of moving to 1704 Seton Street, which is also right next to the police station. I can see it out the window right now. And I'm very excited to learn that the police station and the fire station will be retained as part of this process. I'm also very excited to hear that we might be getting a library in this process. I think we're kind of in a library desert right now in this part of the city. So adding a library at this new facility would be really amazing. And I also think adding new apartments and potentially retail or a mixed use component would really add to the neighborhood. More people could use the library, more people could use the transit facilities, more people could come to our beautiful restaurants and businesses. And we could also improve the streetscape along U Street that currently right now you have to walk past some the entrance to the parking garage or the entrance to the fire station. So I think we have a lot of opportunity to really enhance this block on U Street, which is one of our greatest streets in DC. And I think this has the opportunity to really connect the U Street corridor with Adams Morgan and DuPont and really make this part of the neighborhood shine. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Yona Bromberg-Gaber. I live in 1603 U Street, which is directly to the right of the fire station, where the shoe repair shop is. I think that many of the suggestions have been great, especially, I'm very biased. I would love to see a library here. But I think really particularly what I would love to see here in addition to that is public housing and publicly owned housing. Very, very important that this land cannot be sold to any developer It should not be sold off. It should stay within community control. But this is a prime location for housing, especially family housing. We're 3 blocks away from a school. We are in a neighborhood that has a lot of working class jobs. And so if we can make this almost exclusively deeply affordable housing or social housing, something along that lines, we can actually make this and activate this block, my block, into a really powerful neighborhood community. I think that having a library additionally on the plot would help really make it feel welcoming to everyone. But I think that that most important piece is that we look at this really valuable land as a place to put people to live, and that we make sure that it doesn't get sold to a developer, to a landlord, to anyone like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Hi, Alex, I'm Deborah. Talking.
Yep, you don't have to hold it. Fix it up.
Great. I'm gonna keep this as quick as possible. I live in the building next door.
Did you say your full?
Deborah Ackle. I'm Yona's neighbor, the person who just spoke. I've lived there since 2008. So I want to say that the whole idea of surplusing public property is bothersome when we have such a deficit of affordable housing, and we could use this land for social housing, parks, green space, green lawns. There's so many things that the public would benefit from, and to surplus it because it's no longer needed for public use, that whole concept is, I don't know, I have a problem with that. Okay, so I have a couple of personal requests. Having lived in this building since 2008, right on this driveway between us and the fire station. There's a driveway, there's a fuel pump behind the fire station. Vehicles from all over the city use that fuel pump. I'm talking ambulances, ladder trucks, engine truck, everything. And they tend to use it at night because they get directives to refuel during the overnight hours because it's less busy, which, you know, we get backup alarms going down that. Oh, I'm telling you, it's torture. So my request personally would be to relocate that driveway. Whatever you build here, please be sensitive to the fact we have 15 apartments that have windows overlooking or adjacent to that driveway. And anything you can do to relocate the access to that fuel pump. That is the only fuel pump in all of DC that is next to residential. All the other ones are away from residences. So, and I'm not speaking just for me, but also other housing that might be affected. The townhouses on V Street that back into the pump. It would just be a great thing. I'm thinking if anybody's aware of the Ritz-Carlton in the West End, which is my old neighborhood, they built it so there's a driveway through the middle that connects 23rd and 22nd Street. So you can have vehicular traffic in there, and you can also access, and it's, you know, nobody's like directly affected. Okay, so that's one request. And also, you know, the other thing about the driveway, not just the backup alarms, but the 5 a.m. crew parks there. They sometimes sound their horns when they lock their cars. You know, it's, and because there's that canyon between the two walls, it's just bad. So please take that into consideration. Second thing real quick is I have lobbied since 2011 to install a traffic light on U Street so that the fire and police can go in and out without having to put their crew in danger, without having to use air horns and sirens to stop traffic. I recently spoke with DDOT Director Lott about it. That light has been approved since 2012, but it just keeps getting deprioritized for beautification projects. So please, if you guys can interface it all with DDOT, and wherever you put the fire station, if it's on the U Street side, a light would be a really good idea for public safety.
We've closed in on the 3 minutes. You almost done?
Okay, yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay.
You know, it's just that I have a lot here. Okay, so 2 more things. I lived in the West End, and I lived in a similar footprint with a library, police, fire, was special ops. when you guys decided to, redevelop, it triggered the sale of my apartment building. We were the last affordable housing in that neighborhood. And the landlord decided, oh, it's a good time to sell, maximize it. So I'd like to ask, I don't know if this is too much to ask, can you take that into consideration with the Rochelle, which is my apartment building? What if that gets triggered for sale because of this? Can we somehow get on the list for whatever housing you might build if people want to stay in the neighborhood? Is there a way to accommodate us if this development triggers a sale of our building?
I'm sorry, ma'am, we have to allow other people to comment.
Okay.
You can email the rest of your thoughts.
Last thing is just a public request. I want to echo the library. I'd like to keep it as public as possible. You fall through the cracks. This is a really important area. And please, whatever you do, try to incorporate, whether it's aesthetic or whatever, the U Street legacy. Okay, I'm sorry to take up more
Thank you.
time. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Alex has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Bean. I live 2022 16th Street. We're right in the middle of the block. I look out over the station all the time. I'm a professional city planner. I've been on the West Coast, East Coast, and in between for over half a century.
It's hard to hear you from over here. That's why I'm wondering if.
And I hope it doesn't count on my time.
You're fine.
And I ask you to consider the impact of a high-rise building on the surrounding immediate neighborhood. And I ask you to consider going no more than 3 or 4 stories high. We don't want to be in the shadow of a high-rise building. I don't want to have to sit out on my back porch. Kitchen. Third floor of my townhouse there. The arrangement of a library, of course, we do need one. I remember asking Frank Smith way back when. A Pride Building, which is really a better location than here for a, my opinion, library. It's at 16th and U. The domain would allow the city to take much more centered, much more in a trafficked area already of pedestrians and next to a bus station, major transfer bus station. If you are going to do with the police stay here, I would argue that the entrance to the police, East Street. Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't have to speak, but just a little more.
That the entrance to the police station be on U Street. I think it was put on V Street because this was built shortly after the race riots in '68. Not putting it here as opposed to trafficked area like U Street. And there could be a better use of this building, I think, in terms of the design for the police station very clearly, and integrating the fire station also. Is the fire station considered? Is the fire station being considered?
Both
part of
the police station and the fire station.
Both of them, okay. I think there can be a lot better arrangement of them on the site than they are now, and a lot more compactly developed. But there has to be some way of getting the police traffic space around here. Ask you to consider that. Ask you most of all to consider no more 3 to 4 stories high total. Prevent overshadowing all this. This is a historic neighborhood completely surrounding this property. It's the Strivers Row Historic District. And we ask that you not impact that historic district. Huge new.
Comment.
Just having trouble picking up low speaking.
My name's Danielle Bryan, and I live across the street in that direction at 2100 17th Street. I have four things that I wanted to raise. One, as the gentleman mentioned, the parking for the public use is already completely inadequate. And so as we're adding additional public needs, that needs to be taken into account, let alone the potential private use of parking. So I don't know how that's managed, I guess, underground, but it has to be taken into account. Also, in terms of the fact that the police station has the V Street entrance, particular impact of that also is the lockup, and the fact that because this has an overnight lockup facility, you're letting people out on the street who are very angry because they've been arrested. And it's something to keep in mind as you're imagining many, many more people living in this community. And the third thing, as mentioned before, is the height of the building. I wish we were thinking 3 or 4 stories, but the woman who was supposed to represent us, Brienne Nadeau, has already made sure that it could be over 10 stories. And it's unimaginable living in this community that you would have something of 10 or more stories in this very normal DC height community. So that was something that I wish we could think of. But when we're talking about housing, I think it's really important, as someone else earlier mentioned, that it be genuinely affordable housing and not just fake affordable housing, which is really just luxury housing, because that's not what the city needs anymore.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Helen Walsh, and I live on Ontario Road, 2200 block. I guess I have a lot of concerns about this. I think one is that our representative has already decided how to design this. And so I would tell the council that this is not what the community is looking for. We're not looking for a 10-story building. I think we'd like to have something that would improve the configuration for the police and the fire department, and to also have a library, but also help to resolve some of the parking problems around here. The way the zoning has worked, we've been all up, they've been putting like changing single-family homes with 1 or 2 people living in it to 9 apartments just up there. And they're not even requiring maybe 2 parking spots in the back. I would love to get rid of all of our cars, but unfortunately, people have families, people have work that is out, not necessarily on a metro or disabled. And so, you have to be a little more realistic about the need for cars here. And so if you're going to have more housing in here, really, we need some parking. And we could probably also use public parking. There's not that much around here. Adams Morgan hardly has any. And so that would be a really good thing. The density is really a problem. And so I agree with people that, 3 or 4 stories would be perfect. Here's a thought that just occurred to me. Why not have some affordable housing for frontline workers who, they work in this building and they can't afford to live here? That would be something, wouldn't it? I think that's about all I have to say. But really, we want a genuine process. It seems like, in a sense, you're saying, oh, well, give us your views about what to use for public use. And our council member has already kind of made the decision to do this.
Where is she?
So, yeah, I don't know, but is someone here from her office? No. Anyway, there's an anger and unhappiness that we'd like to convey to the council, that they've made decisions already that impact us, and they haven't even talked to us about it. And so we hope that the mayor will listen to the community. Now, I don't know, maybe they needed some campaign contributions from developers. It could be. But I have to say, this has a whiff of corruption. I'm from Chicago. I know the smell. Thank you.
So my name is Hussein Musavi. I live in the 1701 Seaton Street on Seaton and 17 in the corner.
Can you speak loud?
Yeah, I live, outside where I live in 1701 Seaton Street. And I live in this neighborhood for almost 30 years. The reason I'm living here for 30 years and I didn't move because the quality of life in here. During the day, here close, we can access to everywhere. In the evening, it's so quiet and you look like you're living in a suburb. This project it destroyed our quality of our life, which we used to it. And also, this is historical area. How come if I want to do something in my property, they don't let me to do that? And who are those people decided to build building, I don't know, high-rise building around here? This building bring light pollution, noise pollution, bring pollution for everybody. I'm really 100% against this project. If you do something respectful to neighborhood, maybe we can understand it, but this is ridiculous. And the people who are in the charge of this, supposedly deciding for the city, they should be realized. We are in community. We have a lot of forces. We can go against you. We don't want to do that. If we want, we have a lot of lawyers in our community, people in news media in our community. We can expose you guys. This belongs to the community. This belongs to the city of Washington, D.C. It's not like a school, library, or churches. The developer, they come for their own benefit. They start building something on it. Be respectful to our community. Whatever you do, get advice and assistance from our community. We can be help to you. But if you want to do those kind of things, anything in our power has trying to use it to stop you. This is not something, you have to think about it seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love that.
My name is Jeff. I live in Adams Morgan. Is that sufficient? Great. I'm in support of no disposition of public land for more unaffordable luxury housing, so no market rate units. Public land should be used for public needs based on data such as community amenities mapping to understand the gaps in public services in this area. If housing is considered, it must be decommodified housing. For example, social housing, cooperatives, community land trusts. And I think we need to analyze the area need for a recreation center, a youth service center, a senior service center, unhoused service center, job training center, art center, neighborhood archives. Those are some ideas. While I do love these things, my only concern is that the current proposal says that the police station and fire station are contemplated to remain on site upon redevelopment. I fear what would happen if you put low-income, unhoused, and/or youth residents in close and frequent contact with the 3rd District Police Force. That's a recipe for disaster. And, I don't think we need a police station here. I'm fully supportive of a fire station, but, as part of making our communities safer, I think we need to be investing more in community services and not more in policing.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Stacy Nightoff and I live at 1636 Florida Avenue. And I just want to say, while I'm fine with the development, I think reaching up to 13 stories is outrageous. And our council member is definitely not representing our best interest. It's disappointing she's not here. And I think a large building like that would be detrimental to the people who live here, and 13 stories is outrageous and should not happen.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Robin Diener. I'm a past president of the DuPont Circle Citizens Association. I'm the director of the Library Renaissance Project, which is a nonprofit advocacy group for libraries. How big is this?
This is about 82,000 square feet,
In acres?
just under 2 acres.
Just under 2 acres. So it's exactly similar to the Chevy Chase Library and Rec Center, which are about to be redeveloped in a program called a Small Area Plan. So I'm really shocked as a participant in civic life that there was no planning around this that we were a part of. U Street, needs help with its retail and the streetscape and safety issues that have been raised and other uses. We could have had a whole discussion about that. The small area plan developed for Chevy Chase took place over more than a year, almost 2 years, with very intensive discussions at the ANC level, at the Civic Association level. And in fact, the only land over which we have control in Chevy Chase is this one, I think it's 1.8 acres with public land. And so that has been requested by the ANC and the neighbors there to be some form of highly affordable housing and social housing, which is a funny named thing. It's been referred to several times. Everybody know how that works with different financial levels, economic strata, and everybody pays 30% of their income, and the money goes towards the building, paying off the note that the city took out to build it because it remains city-owned, and any extra money goes towards more housing being built because the city has failed to solve the affordable housing crisis. In spite of having built tens of thousands of units around the city, we still have, what, 40,000 people waiting for housing. So some form of highly affordable housing, but not concentrated poverty, needs to be built here. And this community is open to it. But above all, it cannot be disposed of. It has to remain in the public portfolio. And I think that's what you've heard here today. I mean, I'm so pleased that all my neighbors feel this way. Thank you. Everything everyone says.
There you
Sorry to bring up the rear, but, okay,
Could you just state your name, please?
sure. Am I speaking? in-
Yep, speaking right into that.
Okay. My name is Paul Johnson. I'm an ANC commissioner, in a different ward, but an ANC commissioner. And I'm also a member of the Grassroots Planning Coalition, which seeks to ensure equity in the planning and zoning process and how we have a fairer city with opportunity for the full spectrum of our residents. And I want to echo the sentiments about equitable community mapping. That needs to be a point of emphasis and not sort of just looked at a standalone project basis, in my opinion. I should also say that this is a question. I mean, what was the configuration of racial equity tools in the analysis of this project? In zoning cases, there's been some work on the racial equity component into decision-making around these projects. And I'd like to know what that is and what those tools are so that we can have that as part of the planning goals and part of our housing goals. I also think that these racial equity tools and these amenity mappings leads to community safety on the preventative side. Be it training, be it economic training opportunities, be it educational, be it technological training. And I think that how those amenities mapping and how those identify the efficacy of a project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here. Speakers, if not. I will read comments we've received.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I was having trouble with the audio. This is Chris Otten. I'm a 22-year resident, a block and a half away from this site. I just want to start with some superficial aesthetic issues. I mean, obviously, you have 2-story row houses right around that area. So any development there needs to be sensitive to that with the stepping up of density up from the low-rise homes. I think that needs to be clarified. But two, imagine this, we're coming to this meeting tonight and imagine we had a packet we were given that had, as Mr. Johnson just said, and an amenities, a community equity and amenities mapping, where we see what we're missing in the area, what gaps need to be served. This is a huge parcel of land. This is a once in a lifetime scenario to do something to meet public needs on our public land. When I read the DemPed advert for this meeting, it was like reading a real estate portfolio advertisement. We need to do things with our public land for the public. So to that end, there should be no disposition of this land, certainly not for any more unaffordable luxury housing. We need public land for public needs based on data. If housing is considered for this site, it must be to decommodified housing, for example, social housing, cooperatives, or a community land trust. But I want to see if this can be answered tonight. Has DemPed analyzed the area for other public needs, such as youth service centers, a senior center, job training center, a neighborhood gathering space? I mean, U Street is being blown out with high-rise development that has none of that. And this site has to be in service to the people who live around there, not just for more unaffordable luxury housing. So I just want to leave it at that. I really want to get a sense from DemPed. Are you doing the analysis we need to make our decisions easier? Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I'm going to try to attempt to unmute Mr. Ernest Springs. Ernest
Hi,
Springs,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Ernest Springs. I live in Adams Morgan since 2007. Prior to that, I lived in Meridian Hill, just on the other side of 15th Street, since 1995. In both places, I've been president of the Neighborhood Association, Meridian Hill Neighborhood Association, and the Reed Cook Neighborhood Association. I'm currently on the board. However, I speak tonight not representing either group, but a few of my observations. I used to work on the West End and had a close upfront look at how the city mixed the fire station and the police stations with mixed use. And I think it's dangerous for U Street to do the same thing there. The most dangerous block in DC, according to the Washington Post, is in the 1100 block of 13th Street near K Street, where the fire department and alley and businesses have driveways that cross the the sidewalk all at the same time with no controls over them. A traffic light would be nice, but a traffic light what couldn't be done by DDOT in either the West End or in the location I'm speaking about on 13th Street, to have mixed use over top of a police station and next to with a fire department next to it would be a horrible situation. I work out at Vita across the street, looking out over the police station and the fire department, and watch cars, even though the firemen try to stop traffic, and they speed by them, around them, and it almost breaks speed times. I even watched a car turn over trying to avoid hitting the fire trucks coming out of the fire station. This is Saturday, Sunday, regardless of what day of the week, really. And you're going to put a mixed use building in that situation because it won't change. As a matter of fact, that's what I suggest, that there be no change, that the police increase their parking by going deeper in the ground, beautify their facade, and we should find a place that was a lot quieter, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood for that library to be built or to exist. No changes, no more increased density. The neighborhood, the historic district should remain as they are. And that the city, while if they have nothing else to do, maybe they need to do traffic studies and how to find parking spaces for the people that they're encouraging to move here, and they come with their SUVs and have no place to park them. But the city has taken their tax money on these SUVs that they purchased in Maryland and then came, or Virginia, and move into the city. Uh, I've heard a lot of people say some smart things. I've been involved in a lot of projects throughout the years, PUDs, parcels, in which we are allowing the city to come up with ideas on how to create um, uh, affordable housing, and they failed each and every time. Porter Place, and so many other projects in which they think are affordable, and they wind up being occupied by people who are making $90,000 to $100,000 a year, families are making that type of money.
Thank you, Ernest Springs.
And I thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I will now attempt to unmute PD Klein. Mr. Klein, are you able to speak?
So, Mr. Klein, unfortunately, we're not able to hear you, so if you could please either put your comment into the chat, or you're welcome to email me. Are there any comments that I need to read out loud that were in the chat?
You face the speakers in the way for. From James Dudney, how viable is it to propose high-density housing above a police station and fire station?
1 second, please. Try that again.
From James Dudley, how viable is it to propose high-density housing above a police and fire station when alarms and sirens go off at any point during the day and night? From Chris Otten, is this being recorded? From Chris Otten, he's curious if DEMPED has done any community amenity service gaps mapping for the area. PD Klein pointed out the sound was garbled. From Nicholas Deldani, we are impressed with legislation, the Green New Deal, that would encourage development of social housing and urge that this be a prototype for social housing rather than to sell the property to developers. From Ramon Estrada, we have enough luxury housing in our neighborhood and desperately need workforce housing. From Brian Romanowski, Councilmember Pinto's office is on the online version. From Chris Otten, wondering has any of the handouts or advertisements been translated into other languages? From PD Klein, while the notice for this project claims that the parcel is not located in any historic district, it does in fact abut and is surrounded by the significant Strivers section and the 16th Street Historic District. Frederick Douglass owned 3 buildings at the 17th and U Streets intersection. This area deserves special consideration to assure the continuity of the historic districts and compatibility with our historic assets. To that end, please involve the community in shaping this project and preserve the unique and special qualities that comprise the architectural and cultural history. Please consider that upflumming this parcel is inappropriate. He continues, while the notice for this project claims that the parcel, he recopied it again, I apologize. And then in the Q&A, we have from Eric Blodnikar, I agree with everything Jeff and Helen have mentioned. And then he goes on, Chris Otten and Ernest have also made very good points and observations. Again, that was also from Eric Blodnikar. I'm looking to see if there's anyone else with a hand raised. That is all the people that I have who have requested to speak using the hand raise function. I read everything that is in the chat to this time.
There you go.
My name is Nancy Shia. I've lived in the neighborhood almost 50 years. And I just want to know if you're really going to take everyone's voice into consideration, since it's so clear we want it for public use. Is anything going to change by this meeting? That's my question. And are you going to actually respond to what everyone said?
So what I'll say is that all of these comments, first and foremost, all these comments will be compiled into our submissions. And we do recommend also working with your ANCs to provide a lot more comments to our office.
Comment. We have another comment from the Q&A. Rona, R-O-N-N-E Queller, agree with all the criticisms of this plan that have been stated. I've lived here for 35 years, and this plan is a travesty. And then from Ren, can we ask for a meeting with CM Nadeau's office? Back to you.
So as I was saying before, we are taking everything into consideration. And I do recommend also reaching out to your ANCs and working with them to provide additional feedback to us. And as we move forward in the process, and as we compile everything to move it towards our surplus legislation.
Didn't mention working with our council members. So obvious that we can't. Is that not part of the plan?
So when we have the surplus legislation that gets introduced to council, it goes through its legislative process, and the council members do have opportunities to review things. So again, working with your ANCs and providing additional comments on the public uses for this site that have been mentioned at length tonight, and providing that input to us is what I'm going to recommend.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my mic is open or not. Can you hear me?
Can I ask that you come over here and?
I think one of the primary criticisms of this process and why there's so much cynicism about it is because the councilwoman, Brianne Nadeau, from what I understand from the ANC, they did a last minute hijacking of a subcommittee meeting of the ANC and said, hey, do you mind if we butt in and do this PowerPoint? And it caught them off guard. Nobody in the public was aware that she was going to do this up-flumming presentation. It seemed like she did it to check a box to say, oh yeah, you know, I did this, we presented this. The next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call from someone saying, hey, they up-flummed this lot to go as high as 11 stories. And I'm like, what? You know, and where was the public engagement on that? And so I think a lot of people here, I know I do, feel like we're being given the end run around on this process. And this, like someone said, this is a really special lot. And this is a special neighborhood. This is a special corridor. And I'd hate to see it turn into another cookie cutter luxury thing with, you know, retail. It deserves better. So I just wanted to let you know where some of the stuff's coming from. Okay.
Thank you very much. If you could take the last slide up, please.
We have one more comment from.
Sorry, we have one more comment.
Yeah, well, 1 second. We have one more comment from Chris Otten. We'll be answering our questions that have been posted tonight. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive comments that we can make informed decisions. We are not answering questions tonight per se. we're accepting comments, we're taking this feedback, we're finding out how you feel about the public uses, but we're unable to provide answers at this time. Email,
I'm gonna actually follow up with all of that. So.
Thanks for accommodating the back and forth. I just wanted to just give a response to the statement that was made about the ANCs being the conduit. The problem I see in that is the accountability and enforceability. There's a wide variety of ANCs all over the district of, competence, interest, and ANCs being the gatekeeper for the community input on these issues that aren't really prevalent and known, particularly issues like racial equity, tools, and zoning cases aren't really known. There's not training offered to ANC commissioners on this, on how to analyze this. Despite the standing and zoning cases and PUDs, there's not the expertise to really analyze it for many ANCs. So having ANCs as the gatekeeper for this, without the resources invested in how to sort of approach or even ask and raise these questions, is a bottleneck, and it's a problem, and it's anti-democratic in my opinion, and leads to not being able to get these issues addressed and leads to bad outcomes. So I think that the answer of just having ANCs be the conduit is not a viable, workable answer, in my opinion. I'm Paul Johnson from the Grassroots Planning Coalition and a commissioner in Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
we have an additional comment from someone just named Ren. Public land being sold to private developers, and we need to speak to unpaid ANC public servants instead of help from people whose job it is to be speaking with us. Please read.
Well, thank you all for attending. That was any last comments. So the question was, where are the police and fire going to go if we redevelop? At this time, there is no development plan. There's no construction plan, anything like that. That is very far down the road, and that would be discussed from a developer standpoint. How it would best be phased. Again, there's no plan. There's no development plan for it right now. So thank you very much for it.
We're taking, the purpose of tonight's hearing is, or the public meeting is to receive comments, and it helps inform the mayor about the surplus of the property. We don't have any direct answers for you tonight, as this is an information gathering session. Please email Alex Feynman if you have some direct questions. We'll do our best to respond to them.
And you'll respond to all our emails with questions?
We will do our best.
So thank you very much for attending. This concludes the public surplus hearing for the 1617 property. Before you leave, please make sure you've signed in at the sign-in sheet at the back, so we have a record of all attendees. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Well, you'll get our email when we send you emails with questions.
Because do we still need?
Just leave that up for a moment.
Anything else we need to do for the web? Saving the chat.
Yeah, I'm copying that right now. Thank you. That went very well.
I leave. So it gave you the option to save all the event files, but you have the option to.
I'm trying, but I
It
can't.
says, it says, like, yeah, whatever you. Yeah, let's not like that.